Hello viewers, today is December 7, 2024 and we are back again with our new edition of this show that we are doing, where we are discussing the major conflicts all over the world, important global events that shapes the interconnected world we live in and impact the daily life of all the people, all the human beings live in this world. So today again we are going to discuss this Syrian conflict, which has been reignited, I would say very deliberately at a very opportune moment. And the way these Syrian rebels, these so-called rebels, these Islamic militants are sweeping the board, starting from Aleppo a week back, then Homs, Hama, and now capturing almost 40% of the Syrian territory, is probably reshaping the Middle East for the upcoming days, for the upcoming years. So just before we kind of delve into the latest developments, the focus of my vlog today would be on this history of this mysterious man known as Muhammad Al-Jolani, who is supposedly heading this organization, this mysterious organization called Hayatul Tahrir al-Sham. Hayatul Tahrir al-Sham is an Arabic word. For those who do not know the Arabic meaning thereby, in English, the Organization for the Liberation of Levant or Liberation of Sham, an ancient word for this region called Syria, Lebanon, Turkish border, right down through the Mediterranean coast. So this organization, HTS, headed by this strange man called Muhammad Al-Jolani. See, Muhammad Al-Jolani, he is a Syrian citizen. He moved to Iraq in 2003-2004 to take part in the Al-Qaeda branded jihad in Iraq after the US invasion. After moving to Iraq, in 2006, he was captured, he was arrested by the US forces, and he was detained in the US Camp Bucca in Iraq for about 5 years. So 5 years he lived under the US custody. And then suddenly in 2011, when this Syrian conflict broke out, he, out of nowhere, he got a dream that he wanted to start waging jihad in Syria. Just connect the dots. He moved from Iraq back to Syria and disconnected himself, relaunched himself in a new front, this new front called Nusra Front, which is an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. And then suddenly in 2014, somewhere in 2015, he kind of renounced Al-Qaeda, the Al-Qaeda global mission of international jihad, and focused himself on Syria only. Syria, and he vowed himself to be a liberator of Syria from Assad's regime. Moving from Iraq in 2011, after being detained for 5 years in the US custody, just mark my words, 5 years in US custody, suddenly he moved back, renounced himself from Al-Qaeda, and then started taking part in this operation where he wanted to throw Assad's regime. And then suddenly, after these rebels were crushed by Syria, by the help of Iran, by the help of Lebanese Resistance, and most importantly by the help of the Russian Air Force, the air cover was provided by Russia, he went into his sleeper cell. He hibernated, he slept, he relaxed, he refurbished himself, this whole organization, this HTS. And now they have remerged, they have came out of their rat holes after 8 years at an opportune moment, just when there was a pressure needs to be taken off from Israeli forces in Lebanon and in Palestine. You see, the moment this ceasefire was executed, this 60-day ceasefire was executed, where IDF was on the point of breakup, where they were exhausted, where there were mass uprisings within the IDF itself. This organization has come and has increased pressure in the Syrian front just to basically divert attention of Syria, divert attention of Iran, and most importantly to divert Russian attention from their Ukrainian theater. So I just kind of laid out to you the history of this man, who is part of the global jihadi network, was part of Al-Qaeda before, and now he is rebranding himself as a moderate rebel, HTS, Hayatul Tahrir al-Sham. So now I'm going to basically give you some facts, some pieces of evidence, and I would let you figure out who is behind this sudden, breakup of these rebels, this sudden surge of these rebels who are being rebranded and refurbished and advertised to the whole world as kind of moderate rebels. This kind of give you some of the facts. These facts which I have gathered from open source, public knowledge. Fact number 1, you can see on the left of my screen a Kiev Post article telling that Ukrainian intelligence, GUR and HUR, I don't know exactly, admitting that they had provided assistance to the Syrian rebels in Ukraine. Now, Ukraine, number 1, is the poorest country in Europe. Number 2, this country has been completely destroyed by the war which has been happening in Ukraine, eastern Ukraine, for the last 3.5 years. They could not provide decent electricity to its people for the last 2.5 years. 50% of the electricity has been cut off. About 1 million armed people have died in this war. God knows how many millions, maybe tens of millions of people have left Ukraine. This country has been completely devastated. And you are telling me that Ukraine has the resources to provide assistance, support to members of jihadist group in Syria? What is their interest? They have no interest. Ukraine is just used as a shell, just used as a cat's paw to funnel the Western funds into Syria. Number 1, that's number 1 piece of evidence. Number 2, CNN is glamorizing them. You all know who represents, CNN represents whom? CNN represents the interests of the US neocons, the newest US liberals. Everybody knows that. Why is the West suddenly glamorizing these terrorists? Ask this question to yourself. Third, this sham, Erdogan, he is openly vowing to help these terrorists. Now Erdogan, Turkey, number 1, is the most closest ally of Israel. All the energy, oil facilities or oil supplies of Israel goes to Turkey. Whatever the bluster he says, whatever language he's used, just forget about that. Come to the facts on the ground. Israel is the major energy supplier. Turkey is the major energy supplier of Israel. Number 1. Number 2, Turkey is the second biggest NATO army after the US. Second largest army in NATO. Number 3, Turkey is the most fiercest of the opponents of Assad regime. They want to destroy Assad regime, and they had a very bitter relationship with Russia. Turkey, a very, very bitter marriage, I would say, between Russia and Turkey. So all these facts, and then finally, the US presence in Syria. Why is the US? I asked this question to all my audience. Why is the US present in Syria? What is their interest in Syria? Syria posed no national security threat to the US. The Syrian government has never vowed to basically attack the US or to attack US interests anywhere in the world. So why is the US army present in Syria? About 1,000 armed personnel in Syria. There is a US base in Syria. Why? Why is the US providing a support, a security to the US oil companies, which are basically supporting the Kurdish elements in Syria. Ask this question why, and you will get the answer. So all these pieces of evidence, I let you to decide, to figure out yourself, okay, who had started this war, this conflict, this theater just now. These jokers who are roaming around in the Syrian streets, these jihadi mullahs, these rebranded, refurbished version of the Al-Qaeda has now suddenly flared up. Who is providing them munitions? Who is providing them the arms? Who is providing them the wherewithal, the intelligence, the support to conduct these operations against the Syrian government? Ask yourself this question and you will invariably came to the same conclusion which I am trying to draw, the inference that I am trying to draw. Now, one more point. Why Syria is so important? I'll tell you why. Syria is a gateway, or is a cog in the wheel of this axis of resistance, which goes directly from Iran, connects it to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, all this axis of resistance. The West, especially the Israeli interest, wants to destroy this nexus because they knew they couldn't destroy the Lebanese resistance in Israel. And that is the reason why Syria, with its importance, geostrategic importance of Syria, with its major or vital link that it provides, they want to destroy this link. They want to disconnect Iranian influence from Lebanon to the Mediterranean coast, from the Gulf coast, through this vital link in Syria. That is my understanding, my geopolitical understanding. I may be wrong, but that is what I see with the facts on the ground. Why suddenly after the ceasefire deal, this conflict has risen up in Syria. Just one more historical point. You see, as a Pakistani, growing up in Pakistan, understanding the history of Pakistan, this is a playbook, Western playbook, which is kind of carbon copy of what has happened in Afghanistan in the 80s. It's the same patchwork, this small groups of mujahideens, which were prepared, which were funneled money by the West, by the CIA, by the Western interest, by the MI6 especially, this lapdog of the US empire, the British. All these, these interests provided and trained these same elements, mujahideen networks, from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, across the border in Afghanistan to fight the godless Soviets. We knew this playbook. That is why I feel this is just a carbon copy. One more important thing. The way they work, the way that jihad in 80s was orchestrated, they always support these small groups, because if one group becomes so powerful, like the way it happened in Afghanistan, where Taliban became so powerful and it became a state in itself, that's not what they want. They always want these small groups, these splinter groups that can be easily managed and easily controlled. If you look at these rebel networks today, or these terrorist networks today in Syria, you will always see these small splinter groups. It is not one group, because they know if these groups becomes too powerful, they can even pose the danger to the people who are actually supporting them. Like in Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. They create these monsters, and then these monsters come to bite them. I am basically warning these people who are these chumps who are basically creating these problems in Syria. This monster will come and haunt you again, like the way it haunted you in Afghanistan just now. Thank you so much.